In this lesson, we'll walk through a more complex example using the modifiers plugin. The task will be to build a more complex trajectory of motion of the target objects of the animation. Don't be discouraged if you don't understand everything the first time. This is just an example. And it is important for me to show you the possibilities and variability. So, we will have a forest and a bee hive. And many bees. Although not, probably not much. By the way, 50,000 bees is the norm for an ordinary hive. And 250 is enough for us. Otherwise, my processor will melt. And they will all fly along trajectories made with modifiers plugin. Let's try to create the illusion of a random path for each bee. This example consists of 3 files: HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Animation objects will be placed in this SVG container. Let's take a look at the styles. The background image will be here. It is stretched to fill the entire screen. Our background width should cover the block container with excess. And style settings for the SVG container. Let's move on to the script. We need the number of bees and the size of the browser window for calculations. The script will consist of 5 functions, including selection of a random number from a range. This constructor function puts the next bee image into our SVG container. This function puts all the bees in our SVG container. Calling this function, animation of movement of the next bee, animation for all bees. Main call to start all animation. Now, let's look at these functions in detail. We have already used the function of choosing a random number from a range. It added the ability to generate a random value if only one number is specified in the range. In this case, the generation will be in the range from 0 to this number. The constructor function is typical, we have already done this. An identifier, position and size will be passed to the function as arguments. The draw method will place the image in the SVG container according to the parameters. The source image of a single bee is in the bee.png file. In order to fill the SVG container with bees, you need to do this cycle inside which to create a new instance of the object. In the parameters, specify the identifier, a random location closer to the hive, and the size. Next, apply the draw method to the instance. Calling this function will give the result that you see on the right in the browser. This is the starting point for our animation. Each bee will fly at a unique speed along its own trajectory. Some will increase, creating the illusion of approaching, some will decrease, moving away. Moving on to the main twin function for one bee. The argument is the ordinal number of the bee. We need a 2π value. When refactoring, this value can be made constant and declared at the very beginning of the code, where we set the number of bees. Further radius. This variable will determine the size of the trajectory of movement. There will be 2 ranges, large and small. With 0.35, most bees will use a small radius and fly closer to the hive. So, a random number in the range from 0 to 1 will in the most cases be greater than 0.35 due to the uniform distribution of the generated random numbers. Accordingly, if you decrease 0.35, the number of bees flying near the hive will increase. And vice versa. Initial setup for calculating the trajectory of the bee. Now the animation itself. The duration of the animation is random from the appropriate range. This will contribute to the difference in the speed of movement of the bees. Now there is a 2π increment for the x and y offset. This is the input for the modifier. Now the modifier itself. The functions are as follows. Parsefloat will discuss the units. The cosine will calculate the required offset. Multiplying by the radius will enlarge the path and make it visible. Adding pixels will make the desired format with the unit of measurement. We get an elliptical trajectory of movement. As a result, each bee has its own ellipse, differing in location and radius. Endless repetition and lack of ease. But that's not all. We will have another animation for each bee. We will be resizing. Let's set the yo-yo parameter to loop the zoom in and out. Endless repetition and lack of ease. By the way, you can experiment with this. All that's left is to call the animation for each bee in the loop. Well, the launch itself. All is ready. I can, as an exercise, advise you to finalize this animation. You see those eyes in the hive? If they blink, it will be much more fun. Create 3 circles in the SVG container in the place of the corresponding eyes, so that the eyes are not visible. Take the fill color like this, and make animations for these circles to change the opacity. These type should be steps, with the parameter to brackets 1. Make a different duration for each circle. This will complement the existing animation well. I like how they fly. That's all. Our lesson has come to an end. In the next lesson we will explore End Array plugin.